So here we are. My name is Marijan Jozic, and I'm from the company Octonix, which is European affiliate of SAE ITC, Industry Technology Consortia. Our guest today is Mr. Alexander Kraus, CTO, Chief Technology Officer at TÜV Süd, and he recently became a board member of IEEE Standards Association. Alex is also a chairman of board of International Alliance for Mobility Testing and Standardization, better known as IAMTS. In short, we have one very interesting guest today. Coming up. Alex, welcome to IAMTS Podcast.
Well,
Thank you very much for
Marijan,
accepting the invitation, and it is very appreciated.
thank you, Marijan.
So I would like to ask you a couple of questions. One of the questions what first hit my mind is that is something I always wanted to know, and I was always afraid to ask. What brought you to automotive industry?
Well, thank you for this question because the answer is pretty severe to my life because it was driving my life so far, but it's also pretty simple. It was passion. My passion is technology since I can remember, and especially automotive technology, that means automobiles. So I can remember and still my parents tell me the first word I spoke was Auto, which means car in German.
Yeah,
And I was playing with cars, and it was always clear for me throughout my childhood when I went to school, then I studied automotive engineering. It was always clear to me I will do something with automobiles, and here I am.
that's great. That's interesting. So very early you already decided the path to your future,
Yes.
and then you became one of the leaders at TÜV Süd. Can you tell us something about TÜV Süd?
Yeah, of course, I will do that. And by the way, this is also something that has to do with passion. So I'm a passionate person. One of the most important things to me is purpose. So I'm intrinsically motivated, and the things I'm doing need to have a meaning to me. And this is why I'm working for TÜV Süd since quite a long time. I started after my automotive engineering study at TÜV Süd. And the DNA of TÜV Süd is safety of technology and sustainability of technology. So in terms of environmental protection and safety, as I mentioned. And it's a 160-year-old company that was founded in 1866 by the German industry. And don't worry, I will not tell now from 1866 to now because this would be too much. But it's important to understand this DNA, which is a purpose to me as a person of TÜV Süd. We have been founded by the German industry, as I mentioned, and at that time it was the Industrial Revolution when steam machines took over from human or animal power in production of whatever. And at that time, this technology was new to the industry and to humanity. It was a revolution, right? Pretty disruptive at that time. And those steam machines blew up and harmed people, stopped production lines for weeks or even months when they blew up. And of course, at that time, it led to heavy impacts. And the industry decided we need an independent third party that exclusively focuses on what are the right tools and methodologies, and therefore developed standards to validate safety of technology throughout the whole life cycle. And as I said, even standardize this. And that was pretty a successful model. I would not even say business model because it became a business model later. When it was very successful, by the way, in the brewery industry first, yeah. And then it was expanded to any technology area, any technology sector, and also exported to around the globe. And I would say it's part of Made in Germany, of that quality label. That is part of it, this concept of a third party. And in the meantime, we are employing 27,000 people at over 1,000 locations around the globe, running a revenue of 2.7 billion euros a year, only with testing, inspection, certification. And again, this makes me pretty proud and gives a purpose and a meaning to me. And one of the sectors we are serving is the automotive industry and the whole transportation sector.
So that means that TÜV Süd started even before Karl Benz invented that first car.
Yes, it is. So
Oh, that's
before the
amazing.
first car was invented, this company was founded again by the German industry, and then expanded to any technology areas. And the same disruption as with the steam machines came when cars took over from horse-powered cars, let's say.
Yeah.
And also here, from the day one, TÜV Süd was involved.
Okay. Now one side question. CTO, Chief Technical Officer. What is what is CTO doing?
Yeah. So as you can imagine, our business is pretty technical, right? So we have to understand technology, understand what risks evolve from technology, and using technology for humans, beings, or for environment. And as a CTO, my responsibility is to make sure we are delivering our services in the right quality. That's one thing for traditional testing, inspection, certification services at traditional technologies. But my major task since I would say 2 years and in the next couple of years is to follow that technology disruption that we are facing. Like 1866, it was the steam machines. Now it's connected cars, it's automated driving functionalities, it's alternative drivetrains moving from combustion to electric power engine or electric drivetrains. It's software-defined vehicles, vehicles that change their behavior, at least potentially, by software updates, and that's disruptive. So we need to make sure that this almost 1 billion euro revenue a year we do with the automotive, in the automotive or mobility sector, is future ready. So it's about innovation, it's about building up the right capabilities, tools, methodologies, just like back in 1866, and hiring the right people that are able to do testing, inspection, certification of the future vehicle technology, such as data-based evaluation of a battery. You cannot do it by just looking at the battery. You see nothing. So you just see the housing of the battery if you see it. So it's data-based. And we need to build up that capability as an example. So doing so, this includes as well not only finding the right people, building up the right capabilities, protecting our existing business models, creating growth through new capabilities or new vehicle technologies from a business perspective, but also building up the right ecosystems and partnerships, and very importantly, influence and participate at standardization and regulation building. Because technology is one thing. Technology really, and this is a strong belief of myself, needs to serve and enhance humanity. And it can only do so when it's affordable, so it must not be too expensive. It needs to be available, and it needs to be, very importantly, safe. And technology is one thing, but standards and regulations are the enablers for technology to build trust and to prove it's safe and make it, enable it to be scaled into the markets. So we need to also make sure that's the right industry standards, such as ISO standards, SAE international standards, Qatar standards when it comes to China, or even IEEE standards are developed properly. And we need to make sure that regulations such as UN ECE, which are relevant for approval of vehicles, prove them safe, right, are building up as quick as technology. And this is, I mean, in a nutshell, what I have to do. And again, this is for 1 billion business with almost 8,000 people. And One last sentence on this. It also includes a cultural change. Because if you look at, and this is, I would say, one of the biggest tasks, but I like it. Because my second passion is people, not only technology, but people, and bring this together is the key to success. But I believe we need to also change the culture of people that run a business which is more than 100 years old, as I told, and doing things in the very traditional way. When it comes to software and database evaluation or testing, inspection, and certifications, it also requires a culture change.
Yeah, that is a very noble task. And a cultural change is not just overnight. It takes a couple of years to do even small changes. Let's talk a little bit about the IAMTS. I would like to know from TÜV Süd's point of view, how you describe the IAMTS, the importance of IAMTS. Then, from your point of view, from TÜV Süd as a CTO.
Yeah. Well, I like this question because it builds exactly what I answered earlier, that technology is one thing. It's a question of physical borders, yeah, what is physically possible, and investment that can be done. And at the end, on the other end, we need to make sure that global standards and probably subsequently also global regulations are building up quickly, as quick as technology comes up, but are also as much as possible globally harmonized. Because if I put myself into the shoes of a technology developer, if I want to develop and scale a technology into global markets, and each individual country or standard is different, this is limiting the capabilities. And then technology cannot serve humanity because it will never be deployed. So from a TÜV Süd perspective, it has two concrete points why IAMTS is so important to TÜV Süd. The first point is, I mentioned it, as a person, I believe technology needs to be available, affordable, and safe to serve humanity. And that's exactly the DNA of TÜV Süd. So our task, like in 1866, and again now in this actual technology disruption or revolution, is we need to prove even new technologies where no best practices are existing, this technology is safe, it can be deployed to the market, it's safe to use. And this is, I mean, intrinsically our DNA of TÜV Süd, and that's the first point, why IAMTS is so important. The second point is a little bit less romantic, let's say. It's clearly business perspective. So we are a private company. Our business model is performing tests and inspections to issue certificates. And we can always scale our business and grow our business when there is not only technology, but also standards existing. And when we were, myself and TÜV Süd was from day one, the idea of founding IAMTS, we have been involved and we have been pushing it. With first point I mentioned, but secondly also, let's make sure for automated and connected driving where no standards, no regulations are existing, but the technology is there. Let's make sure standards are and best practices, how to validate safety, are developed quickly and globally harmonized. So we reached out to SAE International, was one of the very, very first supporters, to Qatar in China, to IEEE, to AVL, and those companies said, yes, we need this. And we teamed up and made it happen. So these are the 2 points. And lastly, IAMTS, I have to say, is not only fun, but really a success factor from the perspective of networking. I learned to know people, and we learned to know people and partners in this context we would not have on it. We didn't build this up the last 160 years. So this is the third point probably why this is so important. It's a fantastic network of influencers and decision makers in the global industry.
Yeah, I'm totally with you regarding networking, because I've notice on myself, if you are open to other people, they will also be open to you. It is very important to have a network, to collaborate, to talk. Even if you are meeting with somebody by the coffee machine, you always talk something that there are some common points, and you can get step further together. If you are
Yeah.
totally isolated, it will bring you nowhere. That's
And Marijan, let me answer on that one more opinion here, or I believe it's even a matter of fact. We are entering again, or we are in the midst of a technology revolution, right? And if we look to how automobiles have been developed the last 100 something years, it was very silo. So the automotive industry is perfectly verticalized. So the OEMs specify what they want to develop in terms of a full vehicle, and they give it down their supply chain, down to the component manufacturer. And there are not so many margins left in between this supply chain. And this, of course, worked very well when vehicles were very like waterfall development and planning of 5 to 7 years in advance, how many vehicles, what is required. And then once the planning is done, this is the vehicle. It cannot work this way from now on. And it started a couple of years ago. I believe, and this is culture change, we need to break that silos open. Because when it comes to data-based development, let me say the example of scenario-based development and validation of highly automated driving functions. No one in the world has all the necessary scenarios to do this. But if we can manage to put what is existing in the world together, we can make it available. And this will be an enabler for technology. But this is a culture and a paradigm change in an industry that worked in silos for 100 years. And again, this is maybe the fourth point why IAMTS is so important. It's a neutral platform, not promoting any technology, not promoting any region or so, but be acting as a neutral platform to collaborate. Pre-competition, but to find the right ways. I mean, what are the right scenarios? How can we make them available? What test beds are required to validate a level 4 connected vehicle that receives a software update that improves level 4 function? Who knows how to do it? We can work it out with really strong technology partners, testbed operators, and not to say only, but very important, the worldwide leading standardization organizations. And I mean, this is a fantastic, unique setup.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you what will be new development in window of next 3 years, but you already answered it. So that is it. That is.
Well, I can go a bit more in detail if you want. I could talk about all this for hours, so we need to. But ask me. I mean, it's fine. Yeah?
So that, well, I've been last Friday in the technical leadership committee meeting, and I see that there is some content developing. IAMTS is going to publish 2 documents next week. Well, one is already published today. Next one will be published at the end of the week, and the week after that there will be one more document. So there is a quite enthusiastic group in every of those working groups writing documents, and it is not just one-page document. They managed to write the bookworks, which is very good. That can, if that is given away to industry, everybody will be happy, and I always said the happy people produce quality, and that is also going to be so. We have to promote it more and more. It is very important to have such organization, obviously.
Yeah.
Last time in a podcast, I had a guest, Georg List.
Yes.
And I asked him, "Do you have any question for Alex?" And I don't know if have you heard that in the last podcast. His question was the following. He said to me, "But I didn't know." He said, "Alex is passionate cyclist. what are we going to do with VRUs, vulnerable road users? There is a big safety impact because there are motorcyclists, there is cyclists, the pedestrians, a lot of those, let's call it slow traffic, and they are not really protected. What will be your view in that direction? What shall we do with
And
them?
yeah, I heard that question when I heard the podcast with Georg. And first of all, I like that he can remember I'm a passionate cyclist, and I am indeed. So I cycle as much as I can. I'm very busy in my business, so there's not too much time left, and I have family that requires my time as well. And of course, I want to spend time with my family. But anyway, I find time to cycle pretty much, and I can only agree from my own experience that cycling on roads became more and more dangerous over the last years. I can really feel it in my day-to-day experience when I'm riding the road bike, so race road bike, and what I'm doing with passion, and also ride the mountain bike. Let's skip this away, because usually you don't find too many cars in the woods or up in the mountains. But on the road bike, you are one vulnerable participant of traffic. And I can tell you, especially either one example is in urban areas, it happens that all out of a sudden you are in a life-threatening situation just because, visual impacts or impressions to drivers of vehicles in urban environments, if it's twilight or rainy or even during daylight, is pretty heavy. Yeah. So as an example, people turn right, not seeing that I'm coming from behind. So I would say once a month I have that experience. Or even not only in urban environments, but going outside urban areas, like country roads are also more and more occupied. And at least in Germany, we are still lacking bicycle roads. So you have to deal with trucks and cars passing by with high speed, and only air pressure moves you. And this is dangerous. So, just to give some examples from my day-to-day experience, and I have a very clear opinion on this. Let me put it this way. There is the Vision Zero of the European Union, and all countries in the world have more or less a similar initiative. But let's take this Vision Zero of the European Union, which says by 2050, we will not have any more road kills. And I have to say, what we will see is more and more regulation coming up. It's not only about road kills, also about emissions, but that will push bicycles anyway, I believe. But there will be strict regulations how to do this. So it will be regulation driven is one part of it. So regulations will come up that push and guide and even put the pavement or the guardrails to building up infrastructures and vehicle technology that avoids accidents for vulnerable road users. And the second part is, again, my passion is technology. I believe that in the next years we will probably not hardly see level 4 and 5 automated driving. I don't think this will come in the next couple of years, but we will see significantly improving driver assistance systems that recognize bicycle drivers and pedestrians and stop the car. Even the human driver want to go because for whatever is distracted or doesn't recognize the bicycle rider. So I believe we will see technologies, just we see it in trucks, right? The turning assistant, that the truck or the vehicle will stop if there's a vulnerable road user next to the vehicle. And I think this will come up. So it's a mix between technology, guardrailed by the regulation and the vision of the European Union, which will put up the right regulation that there will be no more road kills, and only technology can solve this.
So does it mean that IAMTS will have a working group which will work on that subject, kind of signaling of the vulnerable road users?
Yes, Yes, and we need to see if we will set up a specific study or working group on that subject matter. We will see. I mean, it's not my decision, but it's the decision of the community. If the community, the members of IAMTS have the belief this is worth a separate study or working group, it can happen anytime that we set it up. But the yes comes along with that I believe it's anyway integrated. It's an integrated part. It has to be when we talk about level 3 and level 4 driving. And this is what IAMTS is dealing with. So from different perspectives, one study group that now turns into a working group is about vehicle lifetime compliance. And since compliance, that means keep the approval for the vehicle up and running for the entire lifetime, and it's an automated vehicle, it's all about safety, right? And safety includes not only safety for the passengers of the vehicle, but of course also for the people around. So it's part of it, an integrated part, and the community of IAMTS will make a decision if we need to separate this and take a specific working group on it.
I would like to admit I have been searching on internet and I found that site from I think it is World Health Organization.
Yeah.
And they have that clock counting victims of in traffic. And
Yeah.
that scared me really a lot. It is on year basis, on the whole, we're talking about globally, on the whole world.
Yeah.
1.3 million people are killed in traffic, which is so huge number but
Yeah.
nobody's talking about it. But probably at European Union level or at TÜV people are talking about how to improve safety and what to do about that. But it is so huge number that the broad public, they don't even know that.
Yeah.
That shocked me.
Marijan, I hear you. And you see again, the DNA of TÜV Süd, the deep meaning of IAMTS, and my personal opinion is, again, this point of technology has to enhance humanity. And I mean, we have these technologies now, like, let's say, traditional passenger cars, trucks, bicycles, you name it, airplanes, your profession, right? And that is technology that, I mean, changed humanity forever dramatically. And we became so mobile, but there is a price to pay. I mean, we are talking about heavy physical objects that have kinetic energy. And I mean, it's potentially fatal, right? And it happens because mistakes happen and humans make mistakes. And the next evolution step is, in all this context, is technology needs to make new technology needs to make existing technology more and more safe. And it will work. And I think this is the real meaning, from my perspective, why we need this technology. Of course, then we talk about business models and investments need to have a return on invest and so on. No question. But this is why we have to have technology. And this is the point. The task has to be for anyone who uses vehicles or who homologates or approves vehicles, who sets guidelines, or authorities or municipalities or technology developers like OEMs. Our task has to be, and this is why we have IAMTS, and this is also why we have companies like TÜV Süd, this block counter you saw has to stand at a zero. Probably this is a bit naive. There will always happen something, but how it counts up needs to be significantly reduced. And this will be technology and standards that enable this technology.
What will be the plan for, let's say, next 12 months with IAMTS? In which direction are we going to develop?
Yeah. So, I mean, let me start at that point that IAMTS started as an idea in 2016, 17-ish, and then we found it as a program under SAE ITC being hosted in the United States. We decided then, once it was relevant enough with enough members, we found it and, let's say, spin it out and make it into a non-profit entity, standalone entity in Vienna. And this happened, so that was what kept us busy the last couple of years throughout the pandemic and so on. Now it's an entity, standalone non-profit entity founded by membership fees in Vienna, because Vienna is neutral. It's not supporting any particular automotive country or so. Yeah, this is why we chose this location. And this is done now. So now it will all be about growing the membership base. So we want to get additional members. We have a sound membership base of 45, 48-ish round members. From OEM, Audi is a member as an example, to smaller companies that are contributing from know-how or simulation capability perspective, test beds. NVIDIA, as an example, is a strategic member with their know-how about scenario calculation and so on. And now we want to grow the membership base. So we will put a big effort in gaining new members in Americas, in Europe, as well as in Asia Pacific. We will not only concentrate on vehicle manufacturers, so-called OEMs, but we want to put one focus on getting vehicle manufacturers, additional vehicle manufacturers on board. So this would be about growing the membership base. Then one very important thing will be to increase the output of IAMTS in terms of frequency and content. So we have 5 working groups now, and these working groups will increase frequency of creating output. So the book work you mentioned earlier will increase. This will be the second big focus area. And probably, and I believe we have already some requests from members, we will found in 1 or 2 additional working groups that might be dealing with building up a global scenario database for automated driving validation and development with China, USA, and Europe. So to bring it to a nutshell, grow the membership base, increase frequency of content output, and found additional working groups on relevant subjects.
Okay. Now my final question. Our next guest will be John Tintinelli.
Yes.
So I would like that you ask him a question, and please try to ask a very difficult question
Okay.
to make him sweat.
Okay.
So what would be a question for John Tintinelli?
Okay. So first of all, I like John. Hi, John. You will hear this, so I will try to challenge you. And I have to say, John is a very good friend, and he became a good friend, and he was one of the the founding people of IAMTS from day one, and very supportive, bringing and representing SAE International. So I really appreciate him as a person, as an expert, and as a supporter to IAMTS. This is the first thing I want to say. So John is traveling around the globe. I think he's one of that person I know who's traveling the most. And I found him even at a meeting we had organized, sitting on a horseback, really on a horseback, doing the meeting with me. So he's very not common in how he's doing things. So, and my question is, John, since you are traveling around the globe and you know how things go in China, you know how things go in the US, you know how things go in Europe, and you know the differences between states in Europe, between states in US, and so on. What do you think is the 3 necessary steps to enable level 4 automated driving around the globe? And I'm really looking forward to that answer, because this is probably not possible to answer, but John will find something.
Yeah, he will get somebody to answer it for him.
Maybe yes, but still he has to speak the words.
Yeah. I will try to get him online on a short note, perhaps next week, because he's in Netherlands, not far away from me. So I will try to get him online, and we can work out that answer.
Okay.
So
give him my regards.
Okay, I'll do that. Well, Alex, thank you very much. It was very joyful and a very nice meeting, and I'm looking forward to talk to John Tintinelli to see how would he answer your question, because it is a very challenging question.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marijan, also. Yeah, thank you also very much for your time and for moderating this. And see you next time.
Yeah, we will keep in touch.